So I wanted to give a little spotlight to Ackeem Blake today. Of course, from Jamaica, he's been one of the mainstays in Jamaican sprinting over the past kind of 3 to 4 years. But this past weekend, he actually ran a personal best in the 200 of 20.20 seconds. And this performance is significant for a couple different reasons, but it also kind of lays a foundation for, the changes that he's making in 2025 and how he wants to set himself up to be successful later on in the season as we look forward to the World Championships in Tokyo, down in September. So Ackeem Blake has essentially solidified himself as probably the third best Jamaican when talking about the 100-meter dash. We of course know Ackeem Thompson. He is, solidified himself right now as the top guy, having won the silver medal at the Olympic Games. He's run 9.77 seconds. He really is the guy to beat right now from Jamaica. Then of course, Oblique Seville, he has been the most consistent Jamaican over the past, 4 or 5 years at this point. He's made every single global championship team. He made the past, 3 global championship finals in 2022, 2023, and 2024, though he hasn't actually won a medal yet, but we can solidify both Kashane and Oblique as the top 2, and then Ackeem Blake has been the most consistent behind those 2, despite a very deep field in Jamaica in the 100-meter dash. Now, Ackeem Blake has also had a ton of success outside of global championships, where he was the NACAC champion in the 100-meter dash back in 2022. He won the LA Grand Prix back in 2023 over a very strong field. He also won the Diamond League final last year in Brussels in 2024 over most of the global 100-meter guys. But the one thing that has kind of kept Ackeem Blake from being one of the top guys in Jamaica is the fact that he has never made a global championship final in every opportunity that he's had. 2022, he made the team to the World Championships in Eugene, but he only made it to the semifinals. 2024, he made it to the Olympic Games in Paris, France, but he only made it to the semifinals. And then even looking back to 2023, he actually missed making the Jamaican team to Budapest in the 100 meters, having finished 4th place at the Jamaican trials behind Oblique Seville, Raheem Ford, as well as Rohan Watson. So he hasn't been able to really take things up to another level like Oblique Seville or Kashane Thompson have been able to do, which again has kind of kept Ackeem Blake in that 3rd place spot in Jamaican 100-meter sprinting. But what we're seeing right now is that he's really taking the 200 meters serious in 2025 and really drastically different than what he's done in previous years. Again, personal best of 20.20 seconds this past weekend in Jamaica, and his previous personal best was 20.45 seconds, which he had run last year in 2024. Now, every single year, he usually runs the 200 maybe once at the top of the year in about March or so. But 2025, he's decided to really, put a lot of stock in running the 200, and he's run it already 3 times this year. Look back at the previous years. 2022, he ran 20.83 seconds in March. 2023, he ran 20.84 seconds in March. 2024, he ran 20.45 seconds in March. So again, once every single year, he's run the 200-meter dash in March, capping things off last year with a best of 20.45 seconds. But this year, 2025, already, we've seen Ackeem Blake run 3 200-meter races, 20.65 in February, 20.49 on the first day of March, and then 20.20 seconds again this past weekend in March. 3 200-meter races already this year, one of them a personal best, the other one his 3rd fastest time ever, the other one his 4th fastest time ever. So clearly, he's not only really taking the 200 meters serious, but he's also really showing some consistency in his ability to run faster than he has ever done in previous years in his career. Now, I also want to be clear, I only look back to 2022 because in 2021, he was still a U20 athlete, so he wasn't at the senior level. Really taking a look at his senior career, 2022, 2023, 2024, the years that he's actually made it to global championships or competed on the senior level for the most part. But the question I want to ask is why? Why is it that Ackeem Blake is really taking the 200 meters serious this year? And what are the implications that it might have as we look forward to 2025? Well, first things first, I noted it at the top. The 100-meter dash in Jamaica is stacked, and Ackeem Blake has kind of been sitting in this, 3rd place spot behind Kashane Thompson and Oblique Seville, but there's also a lot of guys behind him who are really in that conversation. Like I noted, Kashane Thompson, silver medalist from the Olympics last year. He's run 9.77 seconds. Of course, he's really solidifying himself as potentially a gold medal, threat going into the World Championships later on this year. Oblique Seville, though he has never made it onto the podium in the 100-meter dash, he has been able to make it into every single global championship final. 4th in 2022, 4th in 2023, and then of course 8th place in 2024 when he did get injured, a couple meters before the finish line in the final. But outside of them, you do have Ackeem Blake, personal best of 9.89 seconds, but then that's not too far ahead of some guys like a Rohan Watson, like Kadrian Goldson, like Raheem Ford. All these guys are, really close and in the realm of being able to, push Ackeem Blake to either faster times or maybe push him off the team. Like I said, in 2023, Raheem Ford and Rohan Watson both made the team ahead of Ackeem Blake, along with Oblique Seville, which kept him off of the team to Budapest that year. So it's not too far-fetched to say that some of these guys in Jamaica could really put some pressure on Ackeem Blake to, potentially kick him off the team or, finish a spot ahead of him or anything like that. But circling back to what I said, he's made 2 out of the last 3 teams, and he has won some significant races on the circuit, outside of global championships. So he definitely has the most experience of any of these guys outside of someone like Oblique Seville, who's been consistent year after year. But we do have to also put in context that the world is extremely deep when talking about the 100-meter dash right now. Where look at the Paris Olympic Games. Just in the final, of course, you had Noah Lyles and Kashane Thompson running 9.79. Then you had Ferd Curley running 9.81, Akani Simbine 9.82, and then everyone else running those 9.8s all the way down to Oblique Seville, who got injured and ran 9.91 seconds. Ackeem Blake with his 9.89 personal best, he would have finished only down in 8th place, literally last place in the Olympic final if he was to make it and run his personal best there. But outside of even that, just look at the semifinals at the Paris Olympic Games. We literally saw it take 9.92 and 9.93 seconds to make it as a time qualifier into the Paris Olympic final. Outside of that, you had guys run 9.94, 9.95, and 9.96 that did not make the final. That was in the semifinals of the Paris Olympic Games. And then even Ackeem Blake, he ran 10.06 seconds in the semifinals. So he wasn't even close to making it into the final. So this is what I'm talking about when we're saying that the 100-meter dash globally is extremely deep, and Ackeem Blake is truly going to have to step things up to really be competitive with not only making it into the final, but being with the guys who are in the semifinals running 9.9s just in those semis and not even making it into the next round. This is where he's really going to have to step things up. So running the 200, dropping his personal best, this is him kind of probably assessing the landscape of the 100-meter dash and realizing that, I have to make sure that I'm building up my strength. I have to make sure that I'm getting competitive with the rest of the guys, or else I'm just going to consistently be on the outside looking in when it comes to these championships, both Jamaican championships, but then also the global championships with the rest of the world. But that lends to the second point of him improving his speed, endurance, and his strength. We know that Ackeem Blake is an excellent starter. He is, you could probably argue from, on case-by-case basis, but he is one of the better starters when talking about the 100-meter dash field. There's a reason that Jamaica has used Ackeem Blake as the first leg on the 4x1 at every single global championships. 2022, he ran the first leg. 2023, ran the first leg, and that was the time they actually got on the podium, getting the bronze medal in the 4x1. 2024, they didn't make it into the final at the Paris Olympic Games, but in those heats, Ackeem Blake, he ran the first leg. He is one of Jamaica's better starters, but he doesn't always have as strong of a second half of the race. He does tend to maintain pretty well through the middle of the race, but that second half is where other guys, whether it's Kashane Thompson, Oblique Seville, Noah Lyles, Letsili Toboho, right? These guys are very, very strong when talking about the second half. Even someone like Akani Simbine or, Kenny Benaric, they're going to be much stronger in the second half of their race. And probably Ackeem Blake, like I said before, he realizes that he has to do a lot more to be able to hang with these guys, whether it's in Jamaica or with the world globally. And so improving his strength, improving his speed endurance by getting a few more 200s this year relative to what he's done in previous years, where he would only run 1 200 at the top of the year, this is probably a good indication that he wants to make sure that he is ready for the rest of the year. This is going to help him build a complete 100-meter race to really be competitive with these guys, to solidify himself as the third best Jamaican, not only in terms of on the clock with his 9.89 personal best, but also so that a 2023 Jamaican Championships, that doesn't happen again. So he's not getting kicked off the team. So he's not finishing 4th place, 5th place at Jamaican Championships. He wants to make sure he's solidifying his spot on the team, and then he can go to World Championships or in the future the Olympic Games and make sure that he's getting into finals and being as competitive as possible. And the 200 is only going to help that. I think that Ackeem running this 20.20 seconds is definitely going to improve his speed endurance and his strength. It's going to allow him to, really build on and, have a complete 100-meter race. It's going to allow him to potentially be a little bit more competitive competitive with the rest of the world, but it's also simply going to build his confidence. When he's seeing his 200-meter best drop down like this, when he's seeing himself get a little more consistent in the 200, when he's feeling a little bit more comfortable running these races, whether it's 200 or 100, that's going to allow him to feel more confident going into these big races, going into these Diamond League races, going into Jamaican championships and world championships. That confidence is going to be a game changer when talking about him competing with the best. Now, as we look forward, two things I want to note. One, Ackeem Blake is extremely young. He's only 23 years old. I think he just turned 23 years old in January this year. So relative to the rest of the field, he's actually much younger than a lot of guys. So he has a lot of upside, whether it is he, gets into the final this year at the World Championships or gets a medal this year or whatever. He still has a few more years to be able to progress, to develop, and eventually get on the podium, because I do think that he has the ability to do so. And this is just one of the starting points along the way to do that. Now, the other thing that I want to note that I've heard some conversations about, last year, he did win the Diamond League final in the 100-meter dash, beating out a very competitive field. And usually how things work is that you'll get a wild card to the World Championships the following year if you are the Diamond League champion from the previous year. But in 2025, that's actually not how it's going to work. 2025, because the World Championships is so late in the year and because it's after the Diamond League final, the Diamond League winner from the 2025 season is going to get the wild card to the World Championships. So very similar to what they did in 2019, where they had the Diamond League finish off prior to the Doha World Championships. That's the exact same situation that's going to occur in 2025. So Ackeem Blake, he doesn't actually have the wild card yet. He's going to have to earn his spot onto the Jamaican team at the Jamaican trials going down, late in June this year. But I do think based on what he's done in the 200, based on the progression that we've seen over the past couple years, his ability to remain as consistent as possible in those 9.9s, hopefully he'll be able to improve his personal best, get down to a 9.8 something. That is really going to help him to be competitive and maybe make it into the World Championship final in Tokyo this year. But just wanted to give some spotlight to Ackeem Blake. He definitely has been on the rise. He's definitely still young, and he definitely has the ability to be competitive. But let me know what you think about his, 200-meter performance and his personal best. Do you think that this is going to lead to some more success in 2025? Or on the flip side, do you think that Ackeem Blake is still going to be playing catch up to the rest of the world when talking about the 100-meter dash? Let me know what you think. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Always appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.